My neighbor makes my kids hit me, but I want to hit him with a lawsuit. From the moment my family moved into this house, our neighbor, Joshua, has been nothing but trouble. I know some people just don't understand what it's like to have autistic children, but this guy has gone out of his way to make our lives miserable. My husband and I are both in law school, and trust me, it's been a struggle. Balancing our studies with raising 3 kids, 2 of whom are autistic, is no easy feat. We're doing everything we can to build a better life, but we're stretched thin. On top of that, we're on housing assistance. This place is all we can afford right now, and while it's not ideal, we were hoping the neighborhood would at least be a quiet place where we could focus on our studies and help our kids manage their needs. Our oldest son, who's on the spectrum, has issues with boundaries and emotional regulation. Just after we moved in, he climbed over the neighbor's fence, thinking it was part of our yard. He's still learning social boundaries, and he didn't fully grasp property lines. We explained this to the neighbor when we apologized, thinking he'd understand that our son didn't mean any harm. But Joshua made it clear he wanted nothing to do with us. He seemed annoyed just by our presence and made little remarks about keeping our kids in line. He'd complain about the noise anytime the kids were playing or had a meltdown, as if we weren't already doing everything we could to calm them down. Parenting autistic children is challenging, and their outbursts aren't something we can just turn off. They're kids trying to navigate a world that often feels overwhelming, and we're still learning how to help them through it. My oldest becomes violent and nonverbal when he's feeling too overwhelmed, so we do everything we can to help him regulate his emotions. About a month ago, we noticed that every time one of our kids started having a meltdown, our neighbor would go into his backyard and crank up loud, harsh music. It was this aggressive, pulsing noise that seemed designed to push our kids further over the edge. I thought it was just an unpleasant coincidence at first, but it started happening every single time. If the kid screamed, the music started, like he was waiting for it, and then the hitting from my kids would start. After a few days of this, I finally went over and asked if he could lower the volume, especially when our kids were struggling. I tried to explain their needs, hoping he'd understand that this wasn't something we were ignoring. We were actively working on it with therapists and specialists, but he didn't care. He told me that if I couldn't control my kids, it wasn't his problem, and maybe we shouldn't have moved here in the first place. During that argument, he started using the terms that only parents with autism know, and when I told my husband about it, he suggested that maybe Joshua had done research specifically into how to overwhelm kids with autism. I started to believe that this man knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that by triggering their sensory issues, he was causing them to lash out at us. It was like he was using my kids as weapons against us, knowing full well that we'd bear the impact of their distress while trying to calm them down. My husband and I have talked about this endlessly. We're both exhausted, trying to keep up with school, support our family, and manage our kids' needs. We can't just pack up and leave. We're tied to this place by financial limitations and our commitment to school. After a particularly rough night, our oldest had a meltdown after the neighbor's anxiety playlist blasted through the fence. I snapped. I confronted him in his yard, demanding to know what his problem was. I told him that we knew he was intentionally setting off our kids and that this had to stop. He just smirked and said, "Maybe you shouldn't have had kids if you can't handle them." I felt my blood boil. It was like he enjoyed knowing he was making our lives hell. My husband and I want to be good neighbors, but we're also future lawyers, and this is beginning to feel like a personal vendetta that deserves legal action. I told him we'd take this to court if he didn't knock it off, that we'd look into harassment charges or noise ordinances, whatever we could do to make this stop. He laughed and said he was within his rights to play whatever he wanted on his own property and that I should learn a thing or two about the law before making empty threats. That was it. We've started documenting every interaction, recording the music, taking notes on the timing and the triggers he's using. We're gathering everything we need to make a case. I've tried to be patient, to educate him, to ask for understanding, but he's clearly made up his mind to push us to our limit. We don't have the money to hire a lawyer right now, but we're not going to let him bully our family or make our kids' lives harder than they already are. I don't know if a lawsuit is too extreme, but we're out of options, and I don't see why we should have to keep suffering in silence.